Hello and welcome to our movie review show. As always, I'm your host Daniel with my father and co-host Jerry. Say hi, Dad.
Hello.
This time we're doing Raya and the Last Dragon, which we did see in theaters. I know there's I know they did like the Milan thing again with Disney Plus, where it was I think like $30, uh, and this one's definitely more of a theatrical movie, I'd say. Just from its like scope and size and stuff. Which isn't to say I'd really recommend it, which I know I'm kind of getting that out early, but it's a movie that I feel like there was almost two scripts that were smashed together on. One was more the action adventure stuff in this, and the other one was more the kids stuff. That kind of just really stood out. And I think the action adventure stuff and some of the morals in this story kind of have some issues too. I know we've talked a little about this, and you think somewhat the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Uh,
main, yeah,
I had a real problem with the
mm,
actual moral of the whole story. Uh,
yeah,
the, the kid stuff, they have a lot of kid stuff uh, jokes. They also have a lot of kid stuff animation, I think.
yeah, and like the kid stuff animation is fine usually, but it has the problem of everything's just too like it moves too much. It's too like zany. Like sometimes that's okay, but like when you're trying to like tell something like, I mean, it's about trusting people and stuff, and it does get somewhat dark at times. But when you're trying to kind of tell that story, and then you just have like these weird like kids interval jokes and like not like the Pixar kid stuff, but like the cheap cartoon like bad kid stuff. They kind of show it in the trailer, and I actually think the trailer is a good example of the movie. Because it does get to action, but you also then have those like jokes like, "Oh, my head's closer to my butt now," or so close, and that just like are strange almost at times, and aren't consistent with the tone. Um, but like, I mean, the story is essentially some evil force came. The dragon sacrificed himself to get it away. There's some orb. The orb breaks because she has a new friend that she trusts, and then reveals it, and they fight over it. It breaks. Um, while they're trying to get in a conference to all work together. Then 6 or 7, it's like 10 years later. I think it says six. I don't know, somewhere in that. These things have ran around in random muck, turning people to stone. Uh, and she's going and getting the ore pieces back. She first calls the dragon that comes, and now she's going to get the ore pieces, and that's the main story. And she meets various characters along the way. Um, my problem being like it kind of like it feels like it has a lot of influences from Indiana Jones to some points. Like her rival in this is like Bellic from Raiders of the it's Bellic, right? I think it is from Raiders of the Lost Ark, the uh, other archaeologist. But like in that movie, we actually felt like they've seen each other a bunch and had like a rivalry going on, and in fact, that Indiana Jones usually loses. And this one, like, she met this girl like one time, it seems like, as a child, and they've been obsessed with each other ever since. I don't know. Did you feel that too, or?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that the story,
Mhm,
there wasn't a story there. I mean, first of all, the two people meet, they meet at several points.
mhm.
There is no, and all of a sudden, at the end of the movie, the girl says she has to trust her, or the dragon says she has to trust her, and she gives her all the orbs. And there was no reason whatsoever why this girl should
Well,
trust her.
the reason
Uh,
was because you had to do it then, or you're all gonna die.
yeah,
Um, and like I mean, it didn't like they're like we have to trust her, we have to blah blah blah. The one dragon doesn't know why. I forget what the dragon's name is. But I honestly just found the dragon aggravating throughout the whole thing.
yeah.
Uh, she always seemed to be yelling.
Well, the dragon like acted like a kid.
Yeah, but it was always yelling.
Yeah.
Not a really like how they make kids that are just annoying and yelling and stuff. And um but like it also like the dragon was the main problem because like you get there are several scenes and stuff that like they show like the importance of dragons and stuff to the people and how they still kind of worship them and stuff. And she has a dragon. She should just be able to go up to people with the dragon and get the orb pieces.
Yeah.
Like because the dragons are the ones that originally saved them by doing it. I mean, it just literally makes no sense why she's like, you need to stay in your human form and
Yeah.
blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Like if maybe you had like some dragon hunters out there or like something like that. I mean, I know they talk like they just like the one time it kind of justifies it at the one thing is just like, well, they blame us for breaking the orb anyway, which it was sort of their fault. But it was well, it was everybody's fault, but it was mostly theirs. And setting on this, and it was like, but it's like you're literally at the end of extinction, and you're like, oh, we need to protect our country, our little like water temple place that we live in. That is still probably going to get wiped out, but we can't have the people blaming us if we somehow manage to save everything.
Yeah.
It was one of those that was like very loosely justified.
Right.
Um,
And the thing I thought about it when I walked out of the thing is, there's all kinds of
mhm.
fables throughout the world
Yeah,
that teach just the opposite, that people don't change their nature, that, the scorpion and the frog,
yeah, but
the businessman and the viper, and things like
yeah.
that.
Well, I mean, the problem is, like the big problem is you didn't get enough time with her to actually show her change or anything or
No.
that, and like that wasn't the point of the point of the story. Actually, just seems to kind of become. It starts off as we have to work together somewhat, and then becomes we got to trust each other, but it's still mainly the one main girl doing everything.
Yes.
Like the other people help out towards don't even help out really that you get
Yeah.
because she kind of gets a cast of
Well, the
characters.
kids do.
Yeah, the monkey people and stuff
The,
do.
the monkeys and the kids did, but none
Hmm.
of the humans in the movie.
Yeah, none of the humans really. And like yes, they got them all from all the different things, but they didn't like show their different abilities and work together or anything. Just like at the end, they're like, I mean, it's one of those things where like they're like, oh, we have to trust this person and like we have to all put our faith into one person or anything.
Mhm.
But it's like you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to do this and there could be consequences. Um, and there will be consequences if they betray you. The consequences if they betray you is everybody dies.
Mhm.
The consequence if they don't betray you is there's a chance, and the consequence if you don't try it, everybody dies.
Yeah.
So I mean, it just doesn't seem like. I mean, parts of it just don't seem thought out like that. Um, like I said, I kind of felt like the whole world itself wasn't very thought out.
No.
Because it seems like you have this natural disaster thing that came in it, um, and and again, I'm going to bring up some video game stuff in a bit, but you have this natural disaster that's came. It's I think it's 6 to 10 years. I can't remember exactly what she says,
Mhm.
but you get like the landscape is far more desolate than it would become. You never see like you only ever get like a small glance of like an empty village and stuff. You get some things of these villages and stuff on water and stuff because water prevents them. Uh, Something that I feel like they know in the fables that they talked about of these like monster things and the monster things do what probably is my most hated design in these things, in which it's just literally After Effects.
Mhm.
It's not a thing. It's just like After Effects things that you get, like from somebody moving or something in a cartoon show. I mean, how would you literally describe these monsters in the movie? Do you even know how you describe them?
Just as clouds in it.
Yeah, they're essentially, yeah, but they're essentially like black clouds with streaks in them. Yeah, they're nothing.
Hmm.
I mean, they're not intimidating because of that too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I said they're After Effects because they look like something that would come like with like a particle effect or something. And I don't know why. Like this is something I see on a lot of video games, and every time it takes me out of it because I'm like, this is just horrible. Um, but I mean, uh, and again, like I don't think the messaging is that bad and stuff, but you have to like. And I guess there's a part where she's kind of trying to work with them, and then the one girl acts up, and they uh and it causes her to shoot the crossbow, which
Yeah.
was kind of bizarre because this is like a 20 some foot long, maybe a 15-foot long dragon, and the crossbow bolt was really tiny that hit it and just killed it quickly. Well, I guess temporarily because of course it comes back in the end because it can't be
Yeah.
that. But I was like kind of thinking of this like. I mean, the dragon's the second main character, but what was her personality other than spastic?
Hmm.
And what did she even really do in the movie?
She does it. Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
the
you
only
get
thing she did was the boat.
yeah, she moves the boat faster, but you get some scenes like with her like powers and stuff, and she's like, and other than being rescued a few times, she doesn't really do. I guess she does. I take that back. She does save them the one time when they're when she's fighting the one girl outside of the village. But again, a lot of this could be solved by just showing you have a dragon. The dragons were the saviors. This was the very specific dragon that saved everybody in the legends about that you started off with in the
Right.
movie. She saved everybody once. Why aren't you just using that? Like,
Mhm. The
um,
one of the things was the orb pieces
mhm,
is broke into different pieces,
yeah,
but each of the pieces, when they got them back, represented one of the dragon's ancestors, which she gained certain powers from.
yeah,
But she never used those powers.
yeah. You never use those powers. Well, other
So,
than to turn into a human.
yeah,
Uh, and um, power. But like, and that just was more for like, and that actually she probably used to their detriment.
yeah.
I mean, it just didn't like. It seems almost again like a first draft and stuff, which I actually don't think this movie was that bad.
Hmm.
But we're talking a lot about the problems because like it just didn't seem to be all there in a lot of points. Like I thought the action was almost really good, but there wasn't, I don't think, enough of it. And like it had a very not even almost G-rated action thing in which nobody really got hurt or anything. Um, Obviously, nobody really dies. Um, but and that's always a, I mean, that's a problem in a lot of kids' movies, not nowadays anyway. That they're just a bit too toothless again. Uh, on that. Uh, but like I and I don't want to like get caught up in a lot of stuff because I know you don't play video games and stuff, but I do a lot, and this seems to be really heavily influenced by video games. Like the opening, which I've seen a lot in video games, essentially like a storybook or something that kind of explains the history of the world and how it came to be the way it is, to a certain degree. Well, I guess not the first part because of course they started off where you're like 10 years in the future, and she's like, "How did it get this way?" Which is another cliche I hate. But it starts off like by telling that, and I've seen that done in so many video games. I've seen it done so much interesting and so much better. Um, I mean, the prime example is like in like Legend of Zelda: Wind Waker. It's done with like by telling this story through like stained glass. And this one, it's kind of some Chinese drawings and stuff, but they're not really that well done, and it's not really like that interesting. But a lot of the stuff in like in I'm like I tried to look it up. I didn't find these comparisons to this, but there's a lot of stuff in this you can compare to a FromSoft game, which makes like Dark Souls and Sekiro and stuff, which are the two main ones. Like they're usually in like desolate landscapes where some disaster has happened or is happening. Uh, Dark Souls, it's kind of the dying of a certain age, and in that Sekiro, it's a war beginning. Bloodborne, it's the hunt going on, where most of the people have kind of been. You kind of have the weirdos that are left that are the survivors in it, which is all this, and they're all kind of strange, but not really, and they're not as like sinister as they are in Dark Souls. But you have the character looks a lot like the person from Sekiro and has some of the straight up same ability. She uses a sword that kind of extends and stuff, but that's like a um, more thing I've seen in that, so I'm not really saying that. But like it has like dragons, and the dragons played an important role. Like fire can be replaced with water, and from the Dark Souls series. And I'd have to like go into a lot of the like story of the games, which I really don't want to do. But it's also a problem when I've seen something like that done so tremendously better, especially with like the environmental storytelling, because like they there's like or both things. There's clearly like religions and stuff that go on that you don't really hear about, but everybody knows about in the game. Like you have them all like for some reason when they turn into statues, they make like some thing that you see the people worshiping the dragons for. And they never explain that, and that's fine. But you need to give some more detail in it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like in Dark Souls, it's when you offer and stuff to fire, and there's clearly like significance of that because that's the thing that spawned the essentially the way the world is as it was in those games, and it's dying. Like even in this game, even in this show, when the dragon dies, all the water dies for some reason, which is fine because a lot of their abilities seem based on water and the things kind of run away. But it's just it doesn't. It's one of those things where like it doesn't explain enough, and what's there in the environmental stuff isn't enough to compensate for that. So you can like, it's not like you can't fill in the own blanks with your story. It's like the stuff isn't there. Um, and that's one of the big things I know on that. And I know I just lost you probably with all my video game talk, but um, and I think that's one of my bigger problems with the film is everything in this movie I've seen it done tremendously better and with less annoying characters.
Well, one of the things that got to me is they got these. I think what was it? 5 different countries or five
Yeah, five
different
different
places.
countries.
Yeah, and it seemed like she went to each of them to get back the orb, but
Mm-hmm.
at none of them were there any really. I mean, it seemed like it went so fast to them.
Yeah, and this movie, like, admittingly, is like 2 hours long, so it's a bit longer for a kids movie than normal. I don't know what exactly. It might have been an hour and 50 minutes or something. Because I know I looked it up and I just kind of forgot it. Um, but like, you have the one country that's kind of just been absolutely desolated for these places. But in it, and but and they kind of show like the one person like locked herself away and died somehow. In it, but it seems like it happened a long time ago. She's a complete skeleton. Even though that probably wouldn't happen in 6 years. But that's beside the point. There's booby traps and stuff. Um, I think but the movie, like, the problem is, like, you essentially only go to, you have the starting country that they're in that happens, that you don't really see much out of it outside of a palace. Um, and that, then you have the one that's been desolated. You have the one that's on the water that they actually show, like, some signs of life on. You have another one that's been desolated and there's, like, one guy left in his village. Then you have the other one that's like in the center of water, but it doesn't show anything there, like other than her teaching some children and stuff. You don't get a feel. It's one of those things where there's this great disaster that happened, but you don't really get a feel for it.
No.
You don't really get like every now and then you'll get like the one guy lost his family, a couple of the people lost their family and stuff, but that's it. You don't get a feel like this is an actual thing that's just wiped out the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but and a lot of it like it feels very, and I know I've said this for a couple of movies, it feels very first drafty,
Yeah.
or you just didn't work enough on the stuff. Because, like, on the background information or anything. But and it's kind of hard to talk about the story because it's just them going. Well, it's not really. It's just them going from place to place, but and like essentially picking up one new person at each place. But they don't spend enough of time with the people that they pick up to really do anything.
No, they don't. The story's obviously based on. They start out. They give you the theme in the beginning, of
Hmm.
cooperation,
Hmm.
but nothing in the story. She doesn't claim the orbs by cooperation with the other people,
No,
or
she just.
she just grabs them. And as I said, that was totally unfulfilling for me.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, it was
They,
like she had one piece, and all of a sudden she had all five. And she went to all these places, but it was like she just went there and got it.
yeah. Well, like the ones like them, like I mean, uh, for the most part, I don't even know how she knew where some of them were,
Yeah,
but it doesn't seem like uh, a lot of it, and from the way people are acting and stuff, it doesn't seem like it's kind of a world on the brink of destruction.
yeah,
Um, like the one city actually seems kind of vibrant. The one that's on the water.
yeah.
The other one doesn't. It seems completely like dead and sterile. But uh, it doesn't seem like. I mean, yeah, there's orphans and stuff somewhat running around, but you really don't get like how much that would be a thing.
Mhm.
You kind of only meet two characters on that. But I mean, the one city literally looked fine.
Mhm.
And like, yeah, you could do something like as soon as you go out, there was a lot of stone people and stuff, and a lot of things. So it might be in, or it could be like you could have done something with maybe it's like a lot more fascist, or it's very much in that, or like it's fine, but it's but everybody, but it's very like strict or authoritarian, and like everybody's been thrown out as turned to stone or something, and
Yeah.
like the outside's devastated. But you don't really get enough of a feeling on that. And they already said this like is a cutthroat one, and the other one's war and stuff, warriors, but you never really like. I don't know if it just spends too much time at the beginning, or if it just doesn't spend. It's not long enough, or some of that. But I mean, by far the biggest problem is at the end when they're all giving the stones to the one person. It doesn't feel like that person's grown to earn their trust or anything. It just because at first they're like no, or they actually really trust her. It feels like they're doing it because they have no choice.
Yeah.
Well, when like the dragons and stuff do the same thing to give their power to one, it felt like they did it because they truly trusted her. Which I don't know why you trust this one out of all the other ones
Yeah.
because she is a child.
Well, she acted foolishly.
Yeah.
And you get some idea at the beginning of the movie that, yeah, we got this foolish dragon, but this,
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of movies, you have the fool who grows up to be the wise man.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the foolishness actually has wisdom in it.
Yeah.
But this one never got it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
there
you
was
have.
never any wisdom. There's never any reason to follow her wisdom that you gotta cooperate.
Yeah. Well, there. I mean, obviously, like it would be better if they cooperated, but um, and I mean, but I mean, like it also feels like everybody would listen to her because they mention her name a bunch of times, and she's like this famous dragon that saved the world.
Mhm.
But on it, I mean, the thing is, like, it's like it's she's essentially that like the idealist character that keeps being stupidly idealist,
Yeah,
and somehow just the world works out in her favor.
yeah,
Like like not necessarily like there's nothing wrong with like being idealist, but there's wrong with like it's that level of like um I'm gonna keep trusting. I'm gonna trust everybody for all things, even if they've consistently proven to not
mhm,
want to do that. I'm gonna
yeah.
believe in them and stuff. And it's like,
Well,
no, like,
she, he's like a character from the Pink Panther or the
yeah,
Pink Panther himself. Just a complete fool. And yes, everything works out in the end, but not because of him,
yeah.
because
And the Pink
like
Panther is a comedy.
right.
This
And,
wasn't really.
and this one, they had a real choice at the end,
Hmm. In
and they
fact,
had a choice made by the Pink Panther.
Yeah, in fact, most of the jokes just didn't work in this movie, which was
Yeah,
another problem. Like some of the stuff with the baby and stuff was fine. How it got a bit more slapsticky and stuff,
yeah,
and that worked. But for the most part, most of the humor just did not work for me. Because again, it seemed to be more targeted towards children, which is fine, but more just being loud and colorful
yeah,
and moving around than anything. Uh, and like some of the action scenes, like I said, worked, but they didn't like they didn't have any really consequences either
yeah,
on it. And like so, they could have like used more world building and all those terms that they talk about
yeah,
and lore and whatnot. It just didn't seem this movie just didn't seem fully thought through um, in it because like I said, if you would have had the person like actually do stuff to be trustworthy towards the end, you could have made it a case, but she really didn't, and it didn't feel like the girl trusted her. It just felt like all of a sudden the girl trusted her after wanting to kill her about 5 minutes ago. Um, in it. Um, and again, like one of the big problems in this movie is that it has a couple of action scenes, but nobody gets hurt.
yeah,
Um, like, and I realize it's PG and it's made for kids, but I've seen enough PG movies and stuff where people actually do get hurt from these things uh, on it, and television shows. And I'm not talking about like I'm not talking about like I'm not even I'm even talking about really like Looney Tunes hurt, in which yeah that thing probably hurt but didn't really matter. I'm talking about like they literally don't get hurt or any like damage or like anything. Um, I just found that really strange because you have to have some kind of consequences for most of this stuff.
yeah.
Uh, I don't know. Like I think this is one now that like before I talk about it, I say yeah it's a decent movie you should watch. If you're bored, watch it. It's like maybe a 3 out of 5 or something. But as I talk about it, I'm getting more mad at it again
Yeah, yeah.
because I think it's that thing that there was stuff there and they could have told her and they could have made it just so much better.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know. What's
Yeah.
your opinion on that?
Well, I do too. I mean, I think they had a story to tell, but I don't think they told it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the story they sort of left out for good animation
Yeah.
and kids jokes,
Mm-hmm.
and it. I don't think the story was just too disjointed to follow,
Yeah.
and it just seemed like you put up something here and put up something there,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't seem to be related. You know, they didn't go to one country and learn one lesson or anything.
Yeah.
You know, they went to the country. Yes, they got the gem back, but it seemed like in each of the countries it went so fast you didn't know
Yeah.
what they did.
Well, it's not like they didn't get the gem back really by doing anything clever.
You know.
Like she didn't get the gem back by convincing people that they need it. She didn't get the gem back by some clever action scene. She didn't get the gem back. They just kind of got it back by finding it and grabbing it and running away with it.
Yeah.
Like the one time it's like all in traps and stuff, which was fine. But again, you didn't get a feel for like that country had been completely devastated or area or whatever they
Yeah.
are. You
Yeah.
didn't. Uh, the next one was the one on water and stuff, and like there's some reference to, but there's not enough. Like, yeah, this country seems to be like vibing, but like the outside is this desert that has all these people, so it's literally survived on the sacrifices of a huge amount of people. But you didn't really get that, and like uh, on some of that, and then like you obviously go to the next one that's been uh, that's like it's desolate except for one person, but she never convinces the person in her goals.
Yeah.
Again, like I mean, a lot of this comes down to the fact of she got the dragon at the beginning, and it bears repeating. She got the dragon at the beginning. This dragon is talked about in the legends. It's considered to be the savior of everything on it. And even if it wasn't, the dragons themselves are these mystical, magical figures
Yeah.
that save the world. Their whole countries are named after parts of the dragon.
Hmm.
And her immediate response is, "You need to stay in human form."
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
one of those things that alone just kind of like
Yeah.
it ruins the thing.
Hmm.
Like it's like in one of those things where you have like the chosen one, but a bunch of people are trying, but like nobody trusts him or trying to kill them or something that's supposed to like save the world.
Yeah.
In which there's, well, I should say it's like you have the chosen one, but there's no like antagonistic force out there. It's just people.
Yeah.
I mean, it just made no sense
Hmm.
to me.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, even as I said, they gave you no reason why you would ever trust the one young
Hmm.
girl. In fact, they gave you a lot of reasons why you wouldn't.
Yeah, and
And they gave you no way. The movie didn't have anything in it that
mhm,
showed that she wasn't the person that
yeah.
she was originally.
Well, I guess they did. In their defense, they did like when she after she sees the dragon, she goes back to her mother's like, well, we she has the dragon, so maybe, which and the mother's like, I know there was a dragon because they already talked about it. It's like the dragon saved the world the first time.
Yeah,
The dragon's clearly trying to do anything. Why aren't you working with that? Like
yeah,
their whole logic is, well, the other countries blame us for what happened, blah blah blah. It's like,
yeah,
okay, the other countries blame you for what happened, and that's bad for you.
yeah,
But you know what's a lot worse for you?
mhm,
These things that will literally destroy the world.
yeah,
It's I mean, it's just like there was no thought put into that.
yeah. That's
Um,
the thing. The movie wasn't written well.
yeah. It seems like it had some good ideas in it, and it wanted to build up this whole world and stuff.
Mhm.
But and it could have been a thing. It's not long enough. It has a hesitation of it being a kids movie that you couldn't like really get in that on that. But I mean, and
But they've
being a
had a lot of sophisticated themes in kids' movie, like
yeah,
Zootopia.
oh yeah, but
Yeah,
like in Zootopia, people actually got hurt.
yeah,
And like that was my thing is like one of the problems is everything a lot of the issues of this movie comes back to like a simple message is fine, but just all of a sudden trusting them isn't. It's
yeah,
on it, and that's a very kids movie thing. Like trust and be friends and whatever. Having
mhm,
humor in a movie is fine, and having a zany character is fine, and having a loud character is fine. But this is a kid's loud character.
yeah.
I mean,
And the
it,
zany character was the one that was going to save you.
yeah, and like I mean, you can do a lot of things you could have had her like, how can this person save her, and then realize like kind of having the optimism and idealism rather than cynicalism is good, but there's also a point in that.
Yeah,
Like I said, you don't like if you get stabbed by a person 3 times and honestly go back, you get screwed by somebody multiple times, you're gonna expect and go back to them expecting they're not gonna screw you. You're an idiot.
yeah,
It's the fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame
yeah,
on me.
yeah.
Uh, Aspect of the thing. I mean,
I
it.
mean,
Uh, but even then, like the dragon's personality is essentially trusting and loud.
yes,
But I mean, like literally, there's almost zero point in having her in the film.
yes,
She saves the girl once, which probably the giant warrior dude could have done anyway.
yeah,
Uh, Other than the fact when she dies, all the water disappears and they go
yeah.
in it. But
It
I
just,
don't know.
it was one of those things that just wasn't written
Yeah.
well. And certainly they did a reasonably good job with
Hmm.
the animation.
Hmm.
And, you know,
No. With the exception of how much the dragon just moved and it moved well,
yeah,
it just was annoying from, and that's not the animator's fault. This is totally the director's fault or screenwriter or whatever. And with the exception of the monster things that I forget what they're called that are just After Effects. I thought the animation was superb in this.
Yeah, and you know, but otherwise, I mean, and as you said, the action scenes were pretty good.
Hmm.
But uh, otherwise, but the story wasn't good.
Yeah.
I mean, this one would have been nailed if it wasn't an animated story for kids
Hmm.
because the
Yeah.
story was sort of ridiculous.
Yeah. And it's like it's that thing that like a lot of the stuff in it, like, well, it's not even the story was that ridiculous. It just didn't develop the stuff enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the big problem with this movie is everything's super underdeveloped,
Hmm.
and because of that, a lot of the stuff doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Um, like, like you never got like the one guy's the lone survivor of his village and whatever, and he's still trying to keep the customs alive and stuff.
Yeah.
But you never got the real tragedy of that.
Yeah.
You never got like, um, and how you never got like you just didn't get the tragedy of a lot this horrible cataclysm.
Yeah.
And a part of that is I think because it was the movie was so I don't even like I think it's more childish than kids stuff.
Yeah.
Um, in it and it seems like a lot of the issues with it comes because of that. Not all of them, because I don't think like uh, but it's a very simplistic look at things a lot of times.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. Uh, like I said, almost all the problems can be brought back of like they can't be heard in action. You can't really hurt anybody in action scenes, or that, and which means there's no real like tension. If you'd watch it again, like the first time, you
Yeah.
obviously don't know that, but there's just a lot of stuff either takes away from the tension or just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like it's one of those movies where something could easily solve the problem and they just don't do it, which is have the dragon come come out.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I certainly like it might not be bad to see in theaters, but I would not recommend paying the $30 to watch this on TV.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts on that or?
No, I do not. Yeah, I believe that's true. Uh, I thought it was sort of. This is one of. This one ranks up there with Mom versus Mars.
Mars Needs Martians or whatever.
Yeah, Mars needs
Well,
Mom.
I don't think it was that one because that's the one I just used because it's so scary to look at, and the story's terrible. Like I don't think the story in this one's that terrible, and I think a lot of the stuff in this, I think it's this one frustrates me more than a lot of things. 'Cause one of the things they've talked about before that frustrates me is it's almost really good,
Yeah.
and I think that's where this one fell in. It's almost really good. Another pass at the script, and taking out just some of the weird childness, and
Hmm.
maybe developing her rival or whatever the character they trust at the end more, and you could have had a really good movie.
Yeah.
Uh, and but it didn't. And like, and just like the movie would have been a lot better if they just worked more on the world itself.
Yeah.
Um, uh, no. So yeah. I don't know. I guess maybe like a 2.5 out of 5 or something for me.
Yes.
Like something that's mediocre, but it really could have been like that 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, 4 stars, whatever, but it wasn't. I don't have anything else to say on this one. Do you?
No, I do not.
Okay. As always, if you're watching this on YouTube, please follow us. And if you're watching this on, I think if you're watching this on Twitch, please follow us. If you're watching this on YouTube, please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you, and have a nice day or night, whenever you're watching this. Bye.